Hello and welcome to the Great Big Money Experiment, where I lay my finances bare in an attempt to prove that financial freedom is for everyone. In this video, I will update my finances for November to December of 2020. For the first time, I will talk about my investments. We'll go over the overall strategy and then I'll show you exactly how much I have invested and in what. First, we'll look at the spending from last month and we'll set the budget for the coming month. Overall, my expenses were on the higher side this month. I won't highlight every category that I overspent on, but feel free to pause and pore over the numbers here. On the first slide, there is only two significant events. Come June, July, we're going on a cross-country road trip, crossing Canada and the US. It'll take about 2 to 3 months. For this, we need money. So for the next 6 months, I will be aggressively contributing to my aspiration savings account. My medical aid didn't cover an x-ray on my teeth when I went to a new dentist. This was a big bummer for me, but generally $15 per month doesn't quite cover my needs for medical, so I'll slightly increase it going forward. I was unsuccessful at a spending freeze on my hobby expenses. In the coming month, I set a budget for $35, but I'll try once again not to actually spend it. Instead, I'll try to save it for a bigger purchase such as a 3D printer. I also hurt my wrist this month. It was painful to pull the brake lever on my bike, so I used the car instead. This meant that Mrs. Y used public transit, which meant we spent more on this category as well as fuel. In general, the entertainment budget is on the lower side for us, so I'm going to increase it a little bit going forward. And here we have another category I'm battling with. I've been going back and forth on the cheapest and second cheapest phone plans for a while now. In the past month, I depleted my voice time, and that isn't a situation you really want to be in. If you can't make calls when you need to, like to call in sick or to get roadside assistance, you'll have a lot of stress. The last point of note is my income. I recently switched jobs. The company paid out my vacation time, and that is why my income was so high this month. If I'm able to stick out the new job, my income will be higher than in the past. Putting my expenses on a graph, we see that it is pretty much on the average budgeted amount per month. Time for an update on my net worth. My current account is at $0 and my emergency fund is slightly below the $4,000 target. The balance on my credit card is $280. I pay my statement in full every month, so interest is never charged on the card. I've had growth on my non-registered investments over the last month. Next month we'll see this account shrink as I transferred a portion of it to my RRSP. I did this to max out my RRSP for the year for maximum tax benefit. My TFSA from the financial planner has finally got transferred and all my TFSAs are now consolidated. This is where I plan to accumulate most of my wealth. As I've previously said, I'm trying to max out my RRSP for the year. I've added over $1,000 to this account this month. My net worth increased by almost $2,700 in a month. That's pretty good. Next month we'll see a slowdown in my net worth growth as I try to build my aspiration savings for our future road trip. Here we just have my net worth graph to give some perspective in how far we've come over the past couple of months. Funds not included in my net worth also grew despite drawing from both my deferred spending and hobby savings accounts. My credit score has slipped by 6 or 7 points. It has gone from being classified as excellent to good. I'm not entirely sure for the reason of the decrease, but I'll keep an eye on it and hopefully it goes up in the coming months. Alright, for the first time I will talk about my investments. What do I hold and what is my strategy? The first order of business in every new year is to max out the contribution room on my TFSA. This is where I want most of my funds to be when I retire. The reasoning is that any gains or income from these investments won't be taxed. That means that my retirement income won't be taxed. After my TFSA is maxed out, I go after maxing out the RRSP. When you contribute to an RRSP, you get a tax refund for it. When you withdraw the money, you are taxed on it at your marginal tax rate at the time of withdrawal. What does this mean for my strategy? At retirement, I will withdraw from my RRSP into my TFSA at a rate that is so low that it's exempt from taxes. In doing so, we avoid at least federal taxes once again. My goal is to hold my investments in low-cost funds. Mostly these funds are index funds, and exchange traded. I target an 80-20% split on stocks and bonds. The stocks help to provide growth, and bonds are there to smooth out volatility in one's portfolio. Theoretically, if you hold more stocks, you'll see more growth, but that growth will fluctuate a lot. Initially, I targeted a 90-10 split, but most advice out there suggests a 80-20 split instead. I disregard market timing. We've all heard the saying, buy low, sell high. In reality, you never know when the market is really going to be low and when it's really going to be high. So my philosophy is buy now, sell never. I avoid other asset classes and buying individual stocks. Buying the right individual stock takes an immense amount of time and work, and frankly, I don't have the desire or interest to do that anymore. Other assets like property, arts, or collectibles have their own risks and have never appealed to me as I've always been moving around quite a bit. Perhaps I'll acquire property or other physical assets in the future when I've settled down. Just before I show you the numbers, I want to say that my investments are fragmented and messy. The reason for this is that I targeted a stock bond split that no one fund provided. That was initially. I've changed my asset allocation and now have funds at my disposal with that 80-20% split. The problem is that it costs quite a bit to exit my old positions, so I just leave them be for now. The first funds highlighted are what I currently pour my money into. There are funds holding other funds that invest in stocks and bonds all over the world. This means that my funds are very diversified. They are diversified by asset class, by geographical location, and by company. The rest of the smaller funds shown are fragments left from my past attempt at targeting a 90-10 split. All of these funds, however, are also held in the VGrow fund from Vanguard. As a last note, we see $2,000 or so in cash. This cash has been invested in my RRSP in the meantime. At the time that I took this snapshot of my investments, that move hasn't been reflected yet, so we'll see that reflection next month. Thanks for sticking through to the end of this video. I hope what I presented makes sense and can help you to form your own strategy for investing. And until next time, stay frugal.